Hello everyone. Today we will discuss chapter 2, attitude. It is our attitude at the beginning of a difficult task which more than anything else will affect its successful outcome. William James. Attitude is a psychological tendency that is expressed by evaluating a particular entity with some degree of favor or disfavor, eagerly and taken. You can often change your circumstances by changing your attitude. Eleanor Roosevelt. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Winston Churchill. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Winston Churchill. Okay. Introduction. Attitude is an evaluation people make towards persons, objects, ideas, or events. For instance, consider an example of half full glass theory. A person's attitude determines whether it is half full or half empty. Attitudes are the perspectives on a situation based upon the values held by a person or organization. It is a psychological tendency of evaluating a particular object either in favor or disfavor. Characteristics of attitude: cognitive, affective, and behavioral components, evaluation and judgment, context dependent and subjective, psychological construct, learned and acquired, cognitive, affective, and behavioral components. Attitudes have thoughts, emotions, and actions. Evaluation and judgment. Attitudes involve positive or negative appraisal. Context dependent and subjective. Attitudes can vary in different situations and also vary from person to person. Fourth one is psychological construct. Attitude is a mental evaluation and predisposition. Fifth one is learned and acquired. Attitudes are acquired through socialization. Okay, structure or components of attitude. Attitude is made up of three main components: affective, behavioral, and cognitive. Attitude is made up of three main components: affective, behavioral, and cognitive. First one is cognitive. This component of attitude involves our thoughts and beliefs about something or someone. It is based on the information we have gathered and our understanding of it. We form judgments and opinions based on what we know. For example, consider the example of a person X who believes that individual actions can make a positive difference in environmental issues and understands the consequences of unsustainable practices. Second one is affective. The affective component of attitude deals with our emotions and feelings towards something or someone. It's how we feel about a particular object, person, issue, or event. It can include emotions like fear, hate, pleasure, or even love. For instance, person X feels happy and fulfilled when engaged in eco-friendly practices like using reusable bags or conserving water. Third one is behavioral. The behavioral component of attitude is about how our attitude influences our behavior or actions. It's the way we tend to act or behave based on our attitudes. For example, same person X regularly recycles, uses public transportation, and actively participates in environmental cleanup drives. Okay, example: Portugal's football player Ronaldo sat down for his first pre-match press conference of the tournament before Portugal's clashed with Hungary and noticed that two bottles of Coca-Cola were put directly in front of him. He promptly removed the soft drinks from the view of the cameras and replaced them with a water bottle. In the given example, the cognitive component is the knowledge of Ronaldo that Coca-Cola is bad for health. The affective component is the feeling of disgust towards Coca-Cola, and the behavioral component is the removal of the Coca-Cola bottles. Formation of attitudes. Formation of attitude. The following theories are used to explain the formation of attitude. Instrumental conditioning. According to this theory, Positive outcomes strengthen behaviors while negative outcomes suppress them. Example, a person who is continuously ostracized for smoking eventually will quit smoking by developing a negative attitude towards it. Classical or Pavlovian conditioning. It involves pairing a previously neutral stimulus with an unconditioned stimulus to elicit conditioned response. Example, citizens develop a positive attitude towards civil servants who consistently work for the betterment of people. Ivan Pavlov discovered classical conditioning. He paired previously neutral stimulus, sound of bell, which did not elicit any response from dogs, with unconditioned stimulus, dog's food, to elicit conditioned response in dogs. Because of the conditioned responses, dogs produced saliva just by ringing bells. Okay, next is observational learning. This theory says that a person modifies his behavior or thought by observing the rewards or punishments that others get. Example, best employee awards are given in companies so as to change the attitudes of the employees. Next is social norms. Norms are group held beliefs. Norms are group held beliefs about how members should behave in a given context. These are informal understandings that govern society's behaviors. Example, touching feet in Indian society is considered as a sign of respect. Next is genetic factors. It plays an important role in shaping and developing attitude towards anything or entity. Example, variations in genes like the oxytocin receptor gene might influence empathy levels, impacting how we connect and respond to others' emotions. Okay, next is culture. Culture exerts enormous influence on an individual. Culture in itself include religion, tradition, customs, prohibitions, rewards, and sanctions. Example, in Japan, elaborate gift giving is a cultural norm, shaping business etiquette and emphasizing respect for hierarchy. Next is functions of attitude. What are the functions of attitude? Following are the main functions of attitude. They are decision making function, utilitarian function, value expressive function, social adjustment function, social identity function, ego defensive function, and self awareness function. Okay, decision making function. Our decisions are based on how we evaluate situations. Attitude facilitates decision making. Example, environmentally conscious person chooses reusable grocery bags over plastic, reduces waste. Utilitarian function. Utilitarian attitude leads to behavior that optimizes one's interest. Positive attitude towards objects that are associated with rewards, and negative attitudes towards those associated with punishment. Example, awards such as Bharat Ratna, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, etc. are bestowed by the government to develop a positive attitude in the citizens towards their respective works and social service. Value expressive function. It helps to demonstrate one's self-image to others. It expresses our basic values. It helps in securing social approval for an individual. Example, standing in solidarity with victims of injustice, even if one is not directly related to it, demonstrates the values of courage and equality for all. Next is social adjustment function. Attitudes help us in social adjustments. Attitudes help us in simplifying our perception about the world and make it more manageable to us. Example, Mikhail's open-minded attitude allows him to adapt to diverse cultural perspectives, facilitating social interactions and fostering understanding in a globalized world. Social identities function. It helps in displaying the information of attitude of an individual to others. Example, people celebrate their LGBTQ plus identity, promoting inclusivity and challenging social stigma. Next is ego defensive function. It protects an individual from acknowledging the basic truths about himself or harsh realities of life. It helps an individual to psychologically isolate him from groups perceived as hostile or threatening. Example, person X may not be able to play football like Messi. Instead of accepting this reality, he can claim that he does not like football to maintain his self image. Next is self awareness function. Attitudes can help people to approach things that are beneficial to them and avoid things that are harmful to them. For example, person X positive attitude towards healthy eating leads to choose nutritious foods and avoid harmful dietary habits. Influence of attitudes on behavior. Our attitudes, which are set of beliefs, feelings, and predispositions we hold towards things, have a significant influence on our behavior, the way we act in different situations. For example, if someone enjoys exercise, positive attitude, they might be more likely to go for a run. Behavior. In short, attitude is a personal trait, whereas behavior is a social trait. Okay. Difference between attitude and behavior. Attitude. Attitude is an internal component of our cognition, knowledge, or information. Behavior is the manifestation or exhibition of such an attitude. Attitude. Factors like environment, experiences, and moral values mainly influence attitudes. Behavior. Attitudes, character traits, biological factors like endocrine and nervous responses influence our behavior. Attitude. It is more personal. Behavior. It is more social. Attitude. Attitude reflects one's emotions, opinions, and thoughts. Behavior. Behavior reflects one's attitude, as actions are the reflections of our thoughts. Attitude. Example, teenagers have an attitude of respect towards elders and poor people. Behavior. Example, this attitude can be seen in this behavior, offering seat to elders in bus or helping them in crossing the roads. Okay, categories of attitude. Attitudes can be grouped into various categories, reflecting how individuals perceive and respond to people, events, or ideas. Attitudes can be mainly distinguished between explicit and implicit attitude. Explicit attitude and implicit attitude. What is explicit attitude? Also referred to as self-reported attitude. It is this attitude is embedded in our conscious cognition, or in simple words, the person involved is aware of his or her attitude. Okay, that is explicit attitude. Next is implicit attitude. Mostly governed by the past memories, this attitude is embedded in our unconscious cognition. It arises unintentionally due to our experiences. Explicit attitude and implicit attitude. Okay, explicit attitude. A person is aware of his attitudes. It is formed consciously. It reflects values, beliefs, and desired responses. Example, positive attitudes towards a product which was manufactured in an environment friendly manner. Implicit attitude. A person is unaware of implicit beliefs. It is a subconscious attitude. It reflects experiences based on social conditioning. Example, positive attitude towards products used by parents during childhood days. Okay, opinion and attitude. It is an individual's thought or belief about something, whether good or bad. It can vary from person to person. Example, there are conflicting opinions on the possession of nuclear weapons, historical responsibility of climate change in the developed and developing world. Opinion versus attitude. Opinion is the expression of judgment. Attitude is it is a predisposition to act in a certain way. Opinion is generally advisable in nature to others. Attitude is related to more to self-like or dislike towards places, environment, etc. Opinion, it may or may not be based on facts or knowledge. Attitude, it is generated from own belief system. Okay. Example, opinion. Example, an author expressing positive opinion on democracy through an article. Attitude. Example, the author having positive attitude about democracy by studying various forms of government. Belief and attitude. Belief is being certain about something that exists or is true. Example, the belief in living modestly and avoiding waste leads to a attitude of saving and mindful consumption. Belief versus aptitude. Okay. Belief, it is an idea that a person holds as true. Attitude, it is a mental disposition that results in a particular behavior. Belief, it can arise from past experiences, cultural and social norms, or education. Attitude, it arises out of values and beliefs we hold internally. Belief, changing belief can change an attitude. Attitude, changing attitude can also lead to changing belief. Belief, example, the belief in non-violence towards animals. Attitude, this belief of a person leads to a vegetarian diet. Okay. Value and attitude. Values are deeply held beliefs and principles. Values are deeply held beliefs and principles that guide individuals' behaviors and decision making, reflecting what is considered important and desirable in life. Example, a person's value of honesty compels him to always speak the truth, even when it is difficult or uncomfortable. Value versus attitude. Value, it refers to personal belief or principles that guide behaviors and decision making. Attitude, it refers to personal feeling, negative, positive, or neutral feeling about persons, object, situation, or environment. Value, it helps in deciding what is right and wrong. Attitude, it is our likes, dislikes for things, people, and objects. Value, they represent a single belief that guides actions and judgment across objects and situations. Attitude, they represent several beliefs focused on a specific object or situation. Value, showcase a particular person's moral ethics and his or her overall character. Attitude, highlight a person's behavior through the personality. Value, it is derived from social and cultural conventions. Attitude, it is more of a personal experience. Value, a student possessing the value of patience and perseverance. Attitude, a student faces setbacks during preparation for exams but continues to study and succeed. That is attitude. Okay, similarity between value and attitudes. Guiding their guiding principles, both are direction and both provide direction and evaluation. Both are on the basis of for behavior. Okay, influences on perception. Okay, guiding principles. Both values and attitudes act as integral internal guides that influence our choices and actions. Direction and evaluation. Both provide direction and a way to evaluate things as good, bad, important, or unimportant. Basis for behavior. Both values and attitudes can shape our behavior and how we interact with the world. Influence on perception. Both can influence how we perceive situations and the people around us. Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a psychological concept that describes the uncomfortable tension that we feel when our behaviors do not match up with our beliefs or attitudes. Cognitive dissonance is a psychological concept that describes the uncomfortable tension we feel when our behaviors do not match up with our beliefs or attitudes. This feeling of this discomfort can lead us to change either our attitudes or our behaviors to reduce the inconsistency and restore harmony within ourselves. For instance, when you act in a way that contradicts your beliefs, it creates a kind of mental discomfort. For example, if you believe that smoking is harmful to your health but continue to smoke, this contradiction between your belief smoking is bad and your action smoking produces cognitive dissonance. Dealing with dissonance, people employ various strategies to reduce cognitive dissonance and restore internal harmony. They are changing attitudes or behaviors, seeking justification, minimizing the importance, self consolation. Okay, changing attitudes or behaviors. The most straightforward way to reduce dissonance is to either change your behavior to align with your beliefs or adjust your beliefs to better match your actions. For instance, a smoker might quit smoking to align with their health beliefs, seeking justification. Gathering new information that supports your behavior or attitude can also reduce dissonance. If a person learns about a study suggesting moderate wine consumption may have health benefits, they might feel less guilty about drinking wine despite health concerns, minimizing the importance. Some might downplay the significance of the inconsistency. A person might think it's just one cigarette to lessen the tension between their actions and their health beliefs. Self consolation. Rationalizing behavior by considering the circumstances or focusing on one's positive actions can also ease dissonance. Someone might justify a lie by thinking about the times they were honest or by believing the lie was necessary to avoid hurting someone's feelings. Okay. Okay, next is moral attitude. It is based on the moral conviction of what is right and wrong. Moral attitudes are deeply rooted in strong emotions, which are essential for a truly moral life. Without these emotions, morality becomes accidental and inconsistent. Moral attitudes encompass our moral judgments, right and wrong, and reflect an individual's core values. Socrates and Plato, for example, held a moral attitude that suffering injustice is preferable to committing it. Similarly, Gandhi's belief in non-violence as a response to injustice stemmed from his strong moral stance. However, not all our attitudes have a moral dimension. For example, a person's fear of snakes is not inherently moral. However, an attitude towards democracy can have strong moral implications. Qualities of moral attitude. Moral attitude is neither permanent nor universal. There are many factors which shape moral attitudes. They are veracity, reverence, responsibility with awareness, faithfulness, goodness. Veracity. It implies truthfulness, fidelity, or constancy, and the awareness of responsibility. For example, a business owner, despite market pressure to cut costs, prioritizes fair wages for employees, reflecting a commitment to honest and ethical treatment. Reverence. Deep respect for others is essential for justice. It requires acknowledging their rights and curbing one's own desire for power. Without reverence, submitting to authority or self sacrifice becomes impossible. Responsibility with awareness. A responsible person has internalized values. This includes recognizing a higher power that guides decision making, leading to careful consideration and courage in difficult situations. Faithfulness, loyalty to a person or cause expressed through consistent action, defines faithfulness. The stronger this loyalty, the more substantial and capable one becomes of embodying moral values. Goodness, rooted in love, goodness is the fundamental attitude that allows us to practice kindness and generosity. Implications of moral attitudes, positive implications and negative implications. Positive implications, tied up with strong emotions, hence prevents deviant behaviors due to fear of social ostracization. Example, despite being economically debt-ridden, farmers do not follow unethical practices like stealing. Okay, positive implications motivates a person towards altruism, volunteerism, social service. Negative implications. Negative implication of moral attitudes. People can use it to justify violent behavior and lunacy, and still society will accept it because moral attitude is strong emotions. Example, motivates a person towards riots, genocide, and terrorism to justify religious regional issues. Since moral attitude is tied with strong emotions, people do not get along with those who do not share their moral attitude. Example, intolerance. Social attitude. It is the outlook of a person towards social entities like society, culture, organizations, institutions, etc. It is a feeling and belief that a person holds towards certain issues. These attitudes can lift over time and can vary based on factors like culture, generation, and media influence. It is a behavior pattern, a conditioned response, or anticipatory tendency towards a social stimulus. It is shaped by personal experiences and observations. Okay, significance for civil servant: understanding vulnerability, combating bias, Sarvodaya and Andodaya, tolerance. Significance for civil servant. Okay, moral attitude and its significant, social attitude and its significance for civil servant. Okay, understanding vulnerability. A positive attitude towards issues like poverty, deprivation, and discrimination reflects a civil servant's empathy and concern for the underprivileged. It shows compassion for those who facing marginalization and hardship. Example: increased focus on ramps, braille signage, and inclusive public spaces provides a growing social commitment to the inclusion of people with disabilities. Combating bias: unbiased treatment is crucial. Civil servants must avoid letting stereotypes or prejudices influence their interactions with individuals. Example: IAS officer Amit Gupta's Dalia Jalavo initiative exemplifies successful action against manual scavenging in Badawan district, UP, demonstrating a commitment to overcoming prejudice. Sarvodaya and Andodaya. Civil servants should be guided by the principles of Sarvodaya, welfare for all, and Andyodaya, upliftment of the most disadvantaged. Their work should strive for the betterment of society, with a particular focus on empowering the poorest sections. Tolerance: civil servants should be tolerant to cater to the needs of weaker sections. Next is prejudice. Prejudice involves negative preconceptions about entire groups of people, often based on stereotypes. Okay, prejudices involves negative preconceptions about entire groups of people, often based on stereotypes. These judgments are not based on reason or personal experience, but solely on a person's belonging to a particular social group. People with prejudice tend to assume all members of a group are the same, ignoring individual differences. This can lead to discrimination. Example includes prejudice against women driving, doubting the capabilities of Dalits, or unfairly assuming poor hygiene among tribal communities. How to counter prejudice? Target the root, limit exposure to bias, promote shared identity, increase intergroup contact, education and information dissemination. Target the root, identify the source of prejudice to tackle its underlying causes effectively, limit exposure to bias, reduce opportunities to encounter biased information or environments that promote prejudice, promote shared identity, encourage individuals to consider a broader social identity like national or global citizenship instead of focusing solely on narrow group affiliations, increase intergroup contact, promote interactions between different groups to build trust and reduce mistrust. For example, organizing interfaith dialogue where people from different religions discuss their beliefs, fosters understanding and dismantles religious prejudice. Education and information dissemination. Utilize education and dissemination of information to challenge stereotypes and promote understanding. For instance, school curriculums that celebrate diversity and highlight contributions of different communities can counter prejudice from a young age. Political attitude. It refers to a person or group's perspective on political figures, institutions, events, and issues. It reflects their stance on different ideologies. Political attitudes represent how individuals view political parties, topics, and belief systems. People's existing ideological leanings shape learnings shape how they analyze political issues from specific angles. Factors which affect our political ideologies: family influence, role of caste, religion's impact, education's influence, social media, economic status. Okay. Family influence. Children often follow in their parents' political footsteps. Example: children of prominent political figures frequently enter politics themselves, carrying on their family's ideology and support base. Role of caste. A person's caste background can influence their political leanings. In some countries, example India, elections are still heavily influenced by caste. Politicians often choose candidates based on the dominant caste in a constituency to secure votes. Religion's impact. Religious belief can shape moral values, which in turn can influence political views. Example, religious tensions and controversies, like the Ayodhya dispute in India, can be exploited by political parties to mobilize voters along religious lines. Education's influence. A school's curriculum and underlying ideology can play a role in shaping students' political beliefs. For instance, educational systems that promote a particular ideology, like China's emphasis on communism, may influence students' views on other political systems. Social media. In the age of IT, social media has become a prominent tool of propaganda, influencing the political ideologies of the people. Example, political parties use social media handles to attract vote bank. Economic status. Poor people align towards socialist ideology, and rich people align towards capitalistic ideology. Example, poor people are more likely to vote for parties who promise them subsidized food, healthcare, education, etc. Significance of political attitude. Shapes voting behavior, informs political participation, public opinion and policy making, identity and community. Shapes voting behavior. Political attitudes influences to whom person vote and the policies he support. People tend to align with candidates who share their values and priorities. Informs political participation. Person's political views can determine how actively he engages in the political process. This could involve voting, volunteering, or protesting. Public opinion and policy making. The collective political attitudes of a society influence public opinion, which can shape government policies. Identity and community. Political views can shape person's sense of identity and connect him with like-minded people, fostering a sense of community. Democratic attitude. The democratic attitude is characterized by a set of values that promote fairness, respect, inclusivity within a society. It gives space to difference of opinion and appreciates participation of stakeholders. In case of public service, it refers to those attitudes possessed by civil servants who promote the participation of people in decision making. They promote the delegation of power or authority. In place of rule and regulation, there is more focus on compassion, tolerance, and inclusiveness. It has following characteristics. Decision making, guided by the will of the people, often reflected in public opinion polls or elections. Respect for majority recognizes the legitimacy of decisions made by the greater number of people involved. Focus on public welfare. Aims to create policies that benefit the large portion of the population. Representative governance relies on elected officials to voice the concerns and interests of people they represent. Merits and demerits of democratic attitude. Okay. It it promotes active participation of people. So it will promote and strengthen the democratic institution at the grassroots level. There will be more transparency and efficient public service delivery. It will make the governance system more accountable as there is active participation of people. Demerits, decision making process will become slow and time consuming. There is difficulty to satisfy every section of society. Sometimes such an attitude becomes a hindrance to the development process. Example, delay in clearance of mining and industrial development project in scheduled area because of mandatory consultation under Forest Act 2006. Bureaucratic attitude. Bureaucratic attitude refers to a mindset or approach characterized by excessive adherence to rules, procedures, and formalities within an organizational or institutional setting. It prioritizes strict adherence to guidelines and regulations. This approach is grounded in principles of neutrality, objectivity, and impartiality. Characteristics of bureaucratic attitude. Decisions by the book. Following every step. Public opinion takes a backseat. Friction with elected officials. Decisions by the book. Choices are made based strictly on existing laws and regulations. Following every step. All established procedures and rules are adhered to, regardless of extenuating circumstances. Public opinion takes a backseat. Public opinion or feedback may not be a major consideration in decision making. Friction with elected officials. A strict focus on rules can sometimes create tension with elected representatives who are responsive to public sentiment. Okay. Merits and demerits. Merits. Merits of bureaucratic attitude. Okay. Strict compliance of standard operating procedure. It is easier to fix responsibility for decisions because of the hierarchical decision making process. Since consultation with the public is not needed, decisions can be taken quickly. Demerit, red tapeism, as there is no urgency in achieving targets. It is rigid, hence, public service delivery may not be effective. There are they are opposed changes in the system, leading to stagnation. Apathy towards common people, as rule is supreme and not citizens. Difference between democratic attitude and bureaucratic attitude. Democratic attitude and bureaucratic attitude. Okay. Democratic attitude, it is based on the participatory, humanistic, and flexible approaches and bottom-up decision making. Bureaucratic attitude, it reflects hierarchical discipline, implicit obedience to orders, top-down instructions, and rule-bound approaches. Democratic attitude, it promotes the active participation of people. Bureaucratic attitude, apathy towards common people, as rule is supreme and not citizens. Democratic attitude, it focuses more on accountability, people participation, transparency, the flexibility of law and public interest. Bureaucratic attitude, it focuses on strengthening and adhering to rules, procedure, top down and centralized decision making. Democratic attitude, based on the values of transparency, inclusiveness. Bureaucratic attitude, based on objectivity and neutrality. Democratic attitude, example, institutions for public service delivery like banks and PDS shops require democratic attitude. Bureaucratic attitude, example, bureaucratic attitude is needed in areas needing quicker decision making and dealing with the question of national security and sovereignty of the country. Social behavior. Social behavior refers to the way individuals interact and engage with others within a society. It encompasses a wide range of actions, reactions, and communication styles that influence how we function within a group. It is said that behavior of a person is difficult to change. It is due to the following reasons: deeply rooted traditions, cultural norms, preconceived biases, deeply rooted traditions, centuries of established practices like building outhouses instead of indoor toilets create resistance to change because they are seen as the norm. Cultural norms, cultural hierarchies, where some groups hold more power than others, like the subjugation of women, can be difficult to dismantle. Preconceived biases, existing stereotypes and prejudices, like the belief that women should be subservient, can hinder progress towards equality. How behavior can be changed. Following can be done to change the behavior of people. Leverage cultural norms. Successful campaigns often integrate cultural and societal conventions. For instance, the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Save the Girl, Educate the Girl campaign could reference scriptures where women are revered as powerful figures. Encourage public commitment. Pre-commitment strategies where people pledge to specific goals in the presence of government agents can be effective. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Clean Mission India could utilize this by having Swachhagrahis, cleanliness volunteers, guide to citizens towards sanitation and commitments, showcase success stories, highlighting real life beneficiaries of this program through testimonials or examples can motivate others to participate, foster emotional connection, transparency and active engagement from the government create an emotional bond with citizens. This This builds trust and sense of shared responsibility for societal progress. Okay, next is social influence. It refers to how individual thoughts, actions, and feelings are influenced by social groups. It is a quality that can lead to changes in a person's actions, attitudes, and feelings as a result of interactions with other people in society. Social influence can lead us to do more positive things like helping others or volunteering, but it can also lead us to do negative things like following fads or bullying someone. Individuals respond to social influences in different ways. Compliance, identification, and internalization. Compliance, public agreement without conviction. Example, someone stays silent when a friend makes a racist remark. Identification, adopting behavior to mimic someone admired. Example, a young fan drinks a brand endorsed by their favorite athlete. Internalization, aligning with someone due to shared beliefs. Example, two friends both express racist views. Types of social influence: normative influence, informational influence. Okay, normative influence, an individual follows the crowd in order to be liked and accepted. By agreeing on common beliefs, values, attitudes, and behavior, an individual increases his chance of acceptance and survival possibilities. Informational influence, an individual goes along with the crowd because he thinks that crowd knows more than him. Two types of situations produce informational influence: ambiguous situations, crisis situation. Ambiguous situation, when individuals do not know what to do. Crisis situation, when an individual does not have time to think what to do. For example, during stampede. Public spirit, tragedy in Odisha, public response with overwhelming blood donations. Okay, a train accident in Balasore, Odisha left nearly 200 dead and many injured. In response to the disaster, the community rallied behind the tireless medical staff. Villagers displayed remarkable compassion by forming long lines outside hospitals to donate blood. Civil society groups also joined the effort, resulting in an abundance of blood donations exceeding immediate needs. Principles of social influence: reciprocity, consistency, social proof, liking, scarcity. Reciprocity, people tend to give back what was received. Example, reciprocating smiles between individuals. Consistency, generally people try to be consistent with their previous actions, opinions, and assertions. Example, Virat Kohli's dedication to fitness and hard work on the field inspires aspiring cricketers. Social proof, people often decide what to do by looking at what similar others have done. Liking, people are often influenced by those people whom they like. Example, if an influential person in function picks up litter and puts it in a dustbin, many people also follow him and do the same. Scarcity, items and opportunities become more desirable when they are less accessible. Example, use of slogans like limited edition or last week for sale have immediate effect. Persuasion, persuasion refers to the process of changing the attitudes and behaviors of the target groups towards some event, idea, object, or another person in the intended direction by using written or spoken words to convey information, feelings, or reasoning, etc. For example, public service announcements, PSAs against smoking, discouraging people from smoking for their health and health of others. Energy Star rating system, persuading consumers to choose energy efficient appliances to save money and conserve energy. Meatless Mondays, encouraging people to reduce their meat consumption for environmental and health reasons. Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, to change the attitude of people towards girl students. Persuasion can also result in more submission and obedience. Persuasion can also result in more submission and obedience. It is a receiver centric exercise. It is not what the source says, it is what the receiver understands. Functions of persuasion. Moral conditioning. Persuasion can bring change in the social attitude of people. For example, regular announcements to keep the station clean persuade people to change their behavior. Intensify attitude. When the audience has the same attitude, persuasion can amplify the current attitude. Minimize resistance. When the audience has moderately opposed ideas, persuasion can move the audience towards neutrality. Change attitude. When the audience has a contrasting attitude, persuasion can help in making the audience less comfortable with the current attitude. Gain behavior. When the audience is strongly in sync with the persuader, the final objective is to make the audience act. Ways to resist persuasion. Attitude inoculation, backfire effect, forewarned is forearmed, knowledge is power. Attitude inoculation. Imagine getting a weakened version of a virus to build immunity. Similarly, exposure to counter arguments can make someone resistant to persuasion attempts. Backfire effect. When someone strongly resists persuasion, it can backfire. Like a boomerang, the persuasion attempt might be met with an even stronger opposing response. Think of the medical staff getting attacked during COVID. Some people developed such a negative view of treatments that they lashed out. Forewarned is forearmed. If someone knows they are being targeted for persuasion, they might build up resistance beforehand. This forewarning allows them to prepare counter arguments. Knowledge is power. People with strong knowledge and resources, like being well read, are better equipped to resist persuasion attempts. Think of a healthy person with a strong immune system fighting off an illness. Okay, how to make persuasion effective? Crafting persuasive messages, emotional connection, fear appeals with delicate balance, the power of social proof, appealing to intelligence, scarcity principle. Okay, crafting persuasive messages, vivid language, data, and logic are key, along with finding common ground with the audience. The message should fit the audience's comfort zone using appropriate channels. Example, street plays for social issues in villages. Emotional connection. Emotional appeals can be powerful. Example, ads featuring neglected animals to encourage shelter donations. Fear appeals with delicate balance. Moderate fear can motivate, but strong fear can backfire. Example, anti-smoking campaigns with graphic imagery. The power of social proof. Highlighting others' success with a proposed change can be persuasive. Example, Haryana government using female athletes to combat female feticide. Appealing to intelligence. Logical arguments backed by facts resonate with analytical thinkers. Scarcity principle. Emphasize limited availability to create a sense of urgency. Example, limited offers sales. Administration and the public. The administration formulates and implements policies that affect the public's lives. The public has a stake in these policies and relies on government policies for their well-being. However, many times conflict arises between these two due to mismatch of expectations and reality, leading to strained relations between these entities. Why public officials have negative attitudes towards masses? Frustration with complexity, information overload, short-termism versus long-term, constant criticism, unrealistic expectations. Okay, why public officials have negative attitude towards masses? Frustration with complexity. Public desires can be contradictory and addressing everyone's need can feel overwhelming. Information overload. Public officials are bombarded with opinions, making it hard to gauge true public sentiment. Short-termism versus long-term. Public pressure often focuses on immediate solutions, while officials might prioritize long-term benefits. Constant criticism. Public officials face relentless scrutiny, even for well-intentioned decisions. Unrealistic expectations. The public might have conflicting desires or unrealistic expectations about what an official can achieve. Okay, why masses have negative attitude towards public officials? Perceived corruption, ineffectiveness, excessive pay or benefits, scandals and misconduct, media portrayal, perceived corruption, a sense that public officials are lining their own pockets or influenced by special interests can breed distrust, ineffectiveness. If people do not see progress on important issues, they may blame officials for a lack of action or results, excessive pay or benefits, public perception of overly generous salaries and benefits for politicians can lead to resentment. Scandals and misconduct. High profile scandals involving public officials can taint the entire profession. Media portrayal. Negative media coverage of public officials shape public opinion. How to improve the relationship between public and administration. Public should shed its negative role and adopt a positive role. Citizen support and cooperation is essential for the success of any government program. Creating a public relations agency in the administration to serve as conduit between the public and the administration. Administration should maintain constant contact with the public, especially those from rural areas. HOTA committee, okay. Increasing accessibility to civil servants. Increasing accessibility to civil servants by making public meetings compulsory. Use of e-governance, which helps in making the government reach the doorstep of the citizens. Social audit, which involves auditing of the project from the beneficiaries. Citizens charter, to make the citizens aware about the quality of service they perceive, and grievance redressal mechanism. A healthy administration should be receptive to public feedback and concerns. This feedback helps the administration improve its policies and services. Okay, key terms and its meaning. Attitude. Attitude means psychological tendency of evaluating a particular object, either in favor or disfavor. Behavior, way a person conducts oneself. Our behavior is largely shaped by our attitude. Our behavior is largely shaped by our attitude. A positive attitude manifests in good behavior. Opinion, a individual's thoughts or beliefs about something, whether good or bad. It can vary from person to person. Belief, being certain about something that exists or is true. Prejudice, unreasonable dislike towards a particular person or a group of persons and preferences. Stereotype, preconceived notions about a specific group based on sex, gender, identity, race and ethnicity, nationality, age, socioeconomic status, language, and so forth. Persuasion, an attempt to bring about a change in the attitude of a person. Okay, keywords: classical or Pavlovian conditioning, instrumental conditioning, observational learning, utilitarian or instrumental functioning, volunteerism and social service, positive attitude, compassionate attitude, tolerance, proactive empathy, stereotypes and prejudices, anarchism, authoritarianism, communism, so conservatism, liberalism, fascism, Nazism, environmentalism, feminism, identity politics, normative or informative influence, reciprocity, and consistency. Okay. Okay, previous year questions. First one. Attitude is an important component that goes as input in the development of humans. How to build a suitable need for public servant. Second one is, what do the following quotations mean to you? Every work has to pass through hundreds of difficulties before succeeding. Those that persevere will see the light sooner or later. Swami Vivekananda. 3. A positive attitude is considered to be an essential characteristic of a civil servant who is often required to function under the extreme stress. What contributes to a positive attitude in a person? Fourth one is, hatred is destructive of a person's wisdom and conscience that conscience that can poison a national spirit. Do you agree with this view? Justify your answer. Fifth one is, what is meant by crisis of conscience? How does it manifest itself in public domain? Sixth one is, with regard to the morality of actions, one view is that means is of paramount importance, and the other view is that the ends justify the means. Which view do you think is more appropriate? Justify your answer. Seventh one is young people with ethical conduct are not willing to come forward to join active politics. Suggest steps to motivate them to come forward. Eighth one is without commonly shared and widely entrenched moral values and obligations, neither the law nor democratic government nor even the market economy will function properly. What do you understand by this statement? Explain with illustration in contemporary times. Ninth one is how does social influence and persuasion contribute to success of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan? Tenth one is our attitudes towards life, work, other people, and society are generally shaped unconsciously by the family and the social surroundings in which we grow up. Some of these unconsciously acquired attitudes and values are often undesirable in the citizens of a modern democratic and egalitarian society. A. Discuss such undesirable values prevalent in today's educated Indians. How can be? How can such undesirable attitudes can be changed and social ethical values considered necessary in public services be cultivated in the aspiring and serving civil servants? 11th question is two different kinds of attitudes exhibited by public servants towards their work have been identified as bureaucratic attitudes and democratic attitudes. A. Distinguish between these two terms and write their merits and demerits. B. Is it possible to balance the two to create a better administration for the faster development of our country? So we have completed the chapter 2, attitude. In the next video, we will discuss chapter 3, aptitude. Okay, thank you so much for listening me. We'll see you in next video. Thank you very much. Bye.